Okay, so here we are back with the gases in the atmosphere and stuff, and you just wrote this down. I do want to add another one here, though. You got the nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, but water vapor. We got to think about it because yes, water is really important in the atmosphere. That's how clouds move around and how rain happens and weather happens. But some places in the atmosphere, like if you're in the Sahara Desert or something like that, it's going to be 0%. It's going to have no moisture whatsoever. And other places, like in a tropical rainforest, it can be up to 4%. But the problem is, if you start chunking in this 4%, that's going to change the percentages here. Well, that's 103.04% total. Yeah, so you can't be above 100%. So I just want to acknowledge water vapor is another important gas in the atmosphere. Go ahead and write it down. But when I ask the question, what are the three main gases in the percent? That's what you got to know. This is the central learning in the lesson here. Okay, let's move on. Now, here's the thing about oxygen. Life put the free oxygen into our atmosphere. It was that photosynthesis process that ended up releasing the oxygen from the carbon dioxide that it was in originally, and in water as well. And the first living organisms to do it were things called cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, for microscopic organisms. Life on Earth has changed the composition of the Earth's atmosphere. So write that down. If I'm going too fast, then pause the video if you need to. Oxygen is required to release the energy from the food we eat. This is why we have to breathe. Remember, I don't want to go through it again, but photosynthesis is what creates the glucose that stores the energy. Well, without oxygen, you can't turn it back into CO2 and H2O. You got to have the oxygen in order to release the energy from the glucose. Okay? So oxygen is important in the atmosphere because, well, we have to breathe because the energy from the food we eat. Basically, if you suffocate, what you really do is starve to death in about 7 minutes because then your cells can't access the food that's in your blood. So anyway, oxygen is required to breathe. Write that down. If it's white, you got it right. Okay? Carbon dioxide is needed for plants to store the energy for life to use as food, the photosynthesis, which we just kind of went into. Sun shines on the leaf of the plant. Carbon dioxide goes right into the leaves. There are these tiny little pores called stomata. We'll get to that later on in the year. Toward the end of the school year, we'll get into biology. Okay? If you need more time with this, pause the video. If it's white, you got it right. Okay? Now, here's the song. Let me see if you can remember how it goes, the whole thing. Okay, here we are, the Atmosphere song. 1, 2, 3, go. Troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, ionosphere, space is exosphere. Tropo has weather, strato has ozone, meso burns up meteors, and thermo gets real hot. Iono northern lights, exosatellites. Oh, what fun it is to breathe our atmosphere tonight. Oh, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Oh, what fun it is to breathe our atmosphere tonight. Hey! Anyway, it's a lot more fun to do in a classroom with a whole bunch of kids, but anyway, maybe we'll do that when we get back in school. Awesome. All right, so anyway, there's the song. Great. Now, here's the thing about nitrogen. Why is it important? One, it's needed for proteins, chlorophyll, DNA, other important molecules of life. Please write that down. Life as we know it couldn't happen without nitrogen molecules in it. This right here is a strawberry that has nitrogen in the soil as fertilizer, and here's one that's nitrogen deprived. Notice there's hardly any chlorophyll, which is the green stuff that makes photosynthesis happen. Write that down. Pause it if you need more time. DNA molecule, these are basically the letters in the DNA code right here, the G, A, C, and T. Maybe you've heard of that before, but look at that. What's that? It's nitrogen, nitrogen, nitrogen. You can't make DNA without nitrogen. So here's, again, the ladder. To make a DNA molecule, you've got to have nitrogen in it. Proteins, here's the amino acids strung together to make a protein. Look, right there, there's nitrogen in it. What else? Chlorophyll. That's the green pigment that plants use to absorb the sunlight energy to do photosynthesis. Look at that, right in the middle, there's nitrogen. And so you can't make chlorophyll without nitrogen. And so that's why it's the main component of fertilizers. If you put a fertilizer on plants and stuff like house plants, I guarantee most of it is going to be nitrogen, because otherwise you can't make enough chlorophyll and it won't grow very well. Okay, so it's super important. And the atmosphere is like 78% nitrogen, but here's the thing. Plants can't take it right out of the air. They can't take it and use it. Remember when we did the nitrogen, it was a triple bond. Remember, 2 nitrogens stuck together has 3 covalent bonds. Stick them together. So they're stuck together really, really, really hard. And there's no way for the plant to be able to tear those nitrogen apart to use it in some other kind of molecule. So anyway, it's like there's an old story about somebody that's like lost at sea, floating around in a rubber raft, and it's like water, water everywhere, but nary a drop to drink, because you can't drink salt water, right? So he's dying of thirst, even though he's surrounded by gigatons of water, but he can't drink it. Well, the same kind of situation, plants are surrounded by nitrogen in the air, but they can't use it because of that triple bond that joins them together really hard, and they can't break the bond, right? Well, here's the deal. There's a kind of bacteria. Go ahead and write this down. It's called nitrogen fixation. That's going to be a test question, by the way. Nitrogen fixing bacteria help make it usable. And so what happens then is there's this kind of a bacteria that invades the root hairs of certain kinds of plants. They're called a rhizobium bacteria. And it infects it. It's kind of like a disease. And it's like, oh my God, it grows this horrible tumor. It's called a nodule. This is a root infected with rhizobium. But instead of it being a disease that's bad for the plant, the rhizobium can break apart nitrogen. And so they'll take nitrogen out of the air and turn it into nitrates, which is a usable form, breaking that triple bond. And so this is an amazing case where the bacteria infecting the plant actually fertilizes the plant. It takes the nitrogen out of the air. This is an amazing thing. Okay, also lightning. Also, I don't know if you've ever been near where lightning strikes. It kind of, things smell a little bit, I don't know, fresh or something. Anyway, what you're smelling there is the nitrate. It smells a little bit like ammonia, which is what it is, because a lightning bolt will actually break apart that triple bond as well. So a thunderstorm will actually fertilize the ground underneath it as the rain rains down and brings that nitrogen to the soil. So this is called the nitrogen cycle. Yeah, I thought, okay, should we make a poster of it? Nah, let's not worry about it. I just want to make sure you know the nitrogen is important in different kinds of molecules. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as long as you wrote down everything if it's white, you got it right, this lesson is done.